All right, welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
We're diving into some fascinating stuff today. You ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it. What are we looking at?
Today, we're tackling the difference, and I think it's an important one, between voluntary solitude and involuntary isolation.
Interesting.
We've got, well, our sources are kind of a mix of some honestly kind of alarming statistics and then some really insightful commentary about like what this all means. So by the end of this deep dive, you'll walk away not just knowing like dictionary definition,
Right.
but like why this distinction even matters for, well, for how you feel, how you function.
Impacts mental health. Big time.
Exactly. And we've got some surprising facts about, loneliness in America today. So to kick things off, I actually want to just lay out the definitions. Cost this file some interesting statistics on loneliness.txt.
Oh.
It lays this out really well.
Yeah.
So voluntary solitude, it's all about choice, right? You consciously decide, I'm going to spend some time alone, maybe to, I don't know, think, work on something creative, just recharge.
Alone time.
Yeah. And the thing is, more and more, we're seeing that this kind of solitude, it's actually good for you.
Huge benefit. I mean, there's tons of research showing that when you're in voluntary solitude, your self-awareness actually gets a boost.
Like, how did that work?
Well, when you're alone with your thoughts, right, you've got the space to really process your emotions, reflect on things you've experienced.
No distractions.
Exactly. And then you start to just get a deeper understanding of yourself. And I think that leads to, greater self-acceptance, and you grow as a person.
So it's not just like taking a break from the world. It's like using that time to connect with yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. There's got to be more to it than that, though, right? Like, how does just being alone reduce stress?
Well, think about it. Our daily lives are just packed with stimulation, right? People making demands. Voluntary solitude, it's that escape from that. It lets your nervous system just chill out.
Right.
You're stepping away from the pressure of, like, having to, interact. It's just being. And that break, that's what lowers your stress hormones. You get that sense of calm. You renew yourself.
Okay, so voluntary solitude, good for self-awareness, good for stress.
Yeah.
Got it. But, like, what about when it's not a choice?
Right. That's the flip side. That's what we call involuntary isolation. This is where someone's separated, cut off from interaction, but not because they want to be.
Circumstances.
Yeah, it could be illness, disability, even just where they live, geographically isolated. Or sometimes it's social anxiety and makes it hard to connect.
Right.
But the key difference here is that they don't have a choice. They're not in control. It's imposed on them.
It's happening to them.
Exactly. And that's when you see the negative mental health stuff. That's when it really kicks in.
And speaking of negative impacts, like, the stats on this in the U.S. is kind of a gut punch.
Yeah.
Was it 20% of U.S. adults feel lonely daily?
That's what the research says. It's wild.
That's like 1 in 5 people.
It's a lot of people.
And then, what was it, 1 in 3 adults? At least weekly.
At least.
So even if you're doing all right, odds are someone you know is dealing with this.
For sure. And the thing is, loneliness isn't just about physically being alone.
Right.
You can be in a room full of people
Yeah.
and still feel totally lonely. It's about how connected you feel to those people, the quality of those connections, whether you feel like you belong, if you feel understood, if you feel valued.
So it's not just how much you interact, it's how.
Yeah.
Like, are those good interactions meaningful ones?
Exactly.
That's a really good point. Okay. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, why are the numbers so high? Is there something about, I don't know, modern life that's making us more lonely?
I mean, it's a big question, right?
Wake up there.
But our sources do point out some pretty interesting trends here. For example, they talk about how young workers, the 18 to 25-year-olds, they're super vulnerable to this, especially at work. And the number, it's crazy, 45% of them say they feel lonely at work.
Wow. Almost half that's...
It is.
What do you think that is?
Well, you got to figure, this gig economy, more and more people working remotely, that creates isolation. And then a lot of young people, they're moving to new cities for jobs.
Leaving their friends and family behind.
Exactly. They're leaving behind the people they know. And then you can't forget social media.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes it seems like you're connected when you're really not. It's like this facade of connection. But underneath, people can be feeling really lonely.
It's almost like you're more lonely because you're seeing everyone else's, like, perfect life.
Yeah, you compare yourself, and it makes you feel even worse. And then, on the other end, well...
Older adults.
Older older folks, they're at higher risk too, because as you get older, you might retire, your friends and family pass away, maybe health issues start to limit you.
It's harder to get around.
Exactly. So it makes it harder to stay connected.
So it's like this weird paradox. Technology connects us more than ever, but we're lonelier.
Yeah.
So what do we do? If solitude can be good, how do we make sure it's a choice and not, like, forced on us?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? We have to find a way to create communities that foster connection, that make people feel like they belong. We got to reach out to the people who are isolated, support them, make sure that everybody has the chance to build those relationships that mean something.
So it's not just an individual thing, it's like a societal thing too.
It's both. We have to be mindful of our own need for connection, take steps to nurture the relationships we have, and at the same time, we have to think about those who might be struggling, who might be falling through the cracks.
That's a lot to think about. So to kind of wrap all this up, we've gone over the difference between being alone because you want to be and being alone because, well, you kind of have to be.
Yeah.
We talk about, like, the good that comes from choosing solitude, the bad that can come from forced isolation.
And the numbers. Those are important.
And like just how common loneliness is in the U.S., which is, I mean, it's kind of scary. But here's the thing. Here's what I really want you all thinking about after this. What can you do, like, in your own life to make those genuine connections? How can you support the people around you who might be lonely? Because sometimes just knowing that someone cares, it makes all the difference.
Couldn't agree more.
It's a complicated issue.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere, right? So thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
See you next time.
Until next time.